Checking to see if my if this is streaming or not. Ah, it's working now. Yay. So maybe it was because of I had the experimental features on. That might be the problem. Okay. So here we are. Let me go to my live stream here, or my live thing. Let me see if I can get it up. I only have me, so it takes a little bit of time for me to make sure everything's working, you know what I mean? Okay, so it's alright, broadcast alert. Okay, I see that it's streaming, I think. But I can't change the thumbnail right now. So I guess we'll just have to go with that, and I'll do everything later, I guess. Let's see here. Getting there. I don't know, I'm here. I'm just getting my stream stuff situated here. Okay, great. Alright. Okay, so I'm outside at the pool, as you can see. Everybody just went and swim in the house not too long ago. Alright, so I've been kind of thinking about the the CPU war and the GPU war, and the kind of animosity between the AMD fans and the Intel fans and the Nvidia fans. And you know, ever since the RTX cards came out last year, which is the cards that Nvidia made to be able to do real-time ray tracing, everybody's been saying how expensive they are, you know, and that they're not worth the money or whatever the case is, and that they're not good. You know, are video cards expensive? Yeah, I guess they are. I mean, AMD's cards were expensive too during the mining craze. They went way up above what they were worth. So, you know, That's kind of what, I guess, kind of a little bit of shifted the prices. But when Nvidia brought out their RTX series, um, it was on a new architecture. It wasn't a refresh of Pascal, which is what everybody keeps saying. It's not a refresh. Um, so it's a new architecture with new features, with some upgraded features, um, you know, compared to Pascal. Um, but I do agree that when Pascal came out, that would be the GTX 10 series cards, the 1080 Ti, 1080, 1070, 1060, 1050, those cards. Um, there was quite a bump in performance compared to the 900 series. And everybody was really happy about that. I mean, I was happy about that. Um, you know, because I had gotten I went from a 762 gig card to a 970, and then when I got my VR, um, I went out and got a 1070 card, and then I went out and got an Intel CPU because the AMD CPU wasn't good enough for my VR headset. I was getting too much reprojection. Now this is when it first came out. They've since kind of tweaked it a little bit so that it utilizes the CPU better, but that's besides the point. So, I got away from AMD altogether at that point. I was interested in their GPUs a long time ago, but then over time they were having just a lot of heating issues, and I really didn't want that. And I started getting into overclocking, and Nvidia seemed to do that better. They were more efficient, they were less, they weren't as hot. And then when the 10 series came out, that was like blammo. They just kind of took the market by storm, because they were the best cards out there. Every single GTX 10 series card was good. The one exception might be the 1050. Um, now AMD didn't have the 580 out yet. I don't believe when the 1060 came out, so that was definitely beating out the 470. Um, so Nvidia didn't force itself upon the buyer. It was like Nvidia was just what you bought. When Vega came out, it was good, but it wasn't great, and it was hot, and it wasn't that efficient. Um, there wasn't the overclocking, at least in my opinion, wasn't great. You had to do all kinds of modding to the cards to really get them to overclock properly. Um, and then in the end, the Vega 56 actually was the one that was the best one to overclock, and you could overclock that up to almost a Vega 64 performance. So, it's kind of weird, AMD. But, AMD really is a CPU company. Everybody forgets that. Um, they keep looking at AMD as this dual company, graphics company and CPU company. They're not really a graphics card company. They can do graphics. They bought out Radeon, or ATI, I should say. But eventually ATI kind of got absorbed into the company. It really wasn't its own thing. And I think that's really where AMD went wrong. AMD should have kept ATI separate, let them have their own money, do their own innovations and whatnot. But, there was a lot of reasons why that didn't happen. I'm sure one reason is because they wanted to make their APU So they needed the GPU company and the processor company to work close together. The other thing is that a lot of people forget that AMD almost went bankrupt. So they were bailed out, through through whatever. I don't know if they actually went to bankruptcy, but they were close. I forget now. It's been so long, but they were nearly dead, you know. Um, so there's that. So the graphics side of the AMD kind of got absorbed into the CPU company. And they were trying to compete with Nvidia for a while, but Nvidia, being that they are a GPU company, again, most people don't think about that. Nvidia is better, and that's because they are a GPU company. That's their specialty. So they're going to be dumping all their time and resources into that. Um, Now, getting back to the graphics cards, Nvidia also was starting to invest in artificial intelligence. So Nvidia, kind of did like an AMD thing where they're trying to combine two things at the same time. So with the RTX cards, they wanted to do actually three things. They wanted to do AI, they wanted to do real-time ray tracing, and then they wanted to do graphical processing. And put it all into one card. Now, I haven't really heard a good story about this, and why they did what they did. But my personal opinion is this, and correct me if I'm wrong, and don't just correct me with your own words. Just show me a link where it explains clearly why Nvidia released RTX. The reason why I think that Nvidia released RTX is because it was the right time. AMD really wasn't being very competitive. So that gave Nvidia a little bit of time to experiment. Now, experimentation doesn't mean taking advantage of. Nvidia did not take advantage of its consumers. No one forced anyone to buy the RTX cards. I bought an RTX card because I like real-time ray tracing. I wanted to experience it. I like putting more features on cards. Performance is wonderful. We all love that. But more features are good too. So I was kind of interested in the ray tracing primarily, the DLSS. Well, that's okay to have. I mean, that's cool. And then, of course, your gaming performance for the cards. But they released it at the right time because there was no competition from AMD. Nvidia could just put this thing together and release it under the new architecture. Releasing the RTX early gave them a chance to, number one, see how it worked in the real world, hash out any problems with the drivers, get developers on board immediately. Now, they may not have had a lot of games ready, and I don't think they were lying when they brought out that 20-game list. I just think the developers, some of them kind of dropped off, and then it's just taking a long time for the games to get developed. So, people said that was kind of a promise, and I don't know. I just looked at it as a thing, that they're saying that developers are on board. You can take it however you want to take it. So, these were very affordable cards so that any developer, even indie developers, could just pick one up and go with it and start experimenting with ray tracing and DLSS and whatever that other one is, adaptive shading or whatever it was. So I think that that's two reasons right there, three reasons why it was good to release the RTX cards. Um, the fourth reason is that gamers and people who like me and other individuals were crying and screaming, "Where are the new video cards? Where are the new video cards?" So they finally came through and released video cards. you know, so they gave us what we wanted. You know, um, so that's several reasons why I think that it was okay for them to release the RTX cards last year. I think that they were ready to roll. You know, and this way now they can see what they need to make improvements on outside of drivers. That is, they have been improving on the cards, through drivers and updates. So actually, quite a lot. But now they know exactly um, what to tweak and what they can do to improve the whole experience. So you could say that the first adopters were the testers. Anytime new technology comes out, the people who buy it first are the ones who are the experimenters, the ones who are the testers. You know what I mean? They're the ones who are going to give the feedback of what needs to be improved. The same thing with VR. The HTC Vive came out. Um, it didn't work perfectly in all scenarios, and they had to just constantly work it and update it and refine it and tweak it, until now it runs pretty smoothly on any game. And then HTC brought out the Vive Pro, which gave us a nice, beautiful screen, which everybody was crying, for. Um, so you're going to pay money for that. I mean, that's just the way it is. So that's pretty much all I have to say as far as the RTX goes. The GTX 10 series was a good leap in performance from the 900 series. We can all agree on that. And I'm going to talk about prices in a minute. The RTX cards, yes, they seem to be expensive, but that depends on how you looked at it. Having more stuff on the video card is not going to be cheaper to make. That's just the way it is, I mean, that's just, now you could say, well, I didn't ask for it. Well, who asked for anything? When a BMW comes out, a BMW comes out. We can't say, well, send that back to the factory and make it this way. I mean, it's just not the way things work, A company designs something and they release it. And, if it sells, it sells. If people buy, they buy, Otherwise, they just discontinue the product. So I'm going to get into like the comparisons of the 10 series with the 20 series and the 16 series, and then we're going to talk about reviews, okay? Because, the proof is in the pudding. So the first thing I want to look at here is I got my windows split up into 3 panes here. Is we're going to compare the 10 series cards with the 16 and 20 series cards, okay? So hopefully this all works out for me. Let's see here if they have it set up the same way. They don't have the price here because they don't have a Founders Edition, I guess. Alright, there's the specs here. Let's see. Okay, so here's the specs. And then, well, there really isn't any comparison with the 20 series, but let's just start with the 2060 here. Alright, so let's look at this. Let's view the full specs here. Okay. Let's view the full specs here for the 1060 and for the 1660. Alright, so now I personally don't think that you should be comparing like the 2060 to the 1060. You should be comparing the 1660 to the 1060. Okay? That's my personal opinion. Alright? Okay, so here's the 1660 and here's the 1060 6 gig, because that's what we're going to compare here. Okay, and then here's the 2060. Alright, so the 1060, which is down here, okay, it has 1152 CUDA cores. The 1660 has 1408. It is less, but you know, you'll see why it's better. Okay, so alright, so you got the base clock, boost clock, which really doesn't really matter in my opinion, because you know they always boost up high. So, but here's the 1060 down here. Now look at the memory specs. Here's the 1660 over here. I'm getting confused here, because I don't know why they put the 3 gig in here. It's so stupid. All right, so here's the memory bandwidth of the 1660. Okay. So it's 192 gigabits per second, 192 gigabits per second. It's got 192-bit bus, 192-bit bus, 8 gigabits per second memory speed because it's GDDR5. All right. So, so the 1660. Let's see what we got here. What's different? So it does have support for DirectX 12. Does have Vulkan support. Now, the thing that was upgraded though, which I don't see it here for some reason. May not have it. So this 1660 has the NVEC encoder, okay, under Turing, and for the 1060 here, doesn't say it has it. So it doesn't have the encoder, I guess, which is weird. Now look at the thermal specs here. Keep getting us confused. 1660's over here. So let's see, minimum GPU temperature, so that's not really a big deal. So they're both rated at 120 watts. So they're basically the same. This has an 8-pin power connector, this has a 6-pin. So really the 1060 is actually really comparable to the 1660. So if you look at the prices here of the 1660, now the 1060 here, its end price was $299. See that? Alright, so how much is a 1660? No, I don't want the TI. I just want the 1660. 1660. So that's a 1060. Why is it showing a 1060? There may not be any available. That's why. Or wait, no, 1660. I want the. I'm getting confused. I'm sorry. Where's the 1660? They don't have any available. That's weird. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to Newegg here. Let's go to graphics cards. I mean, you can go anywhere, but I'm just going to the easiest place here. So let's do 1660. There's 150 for sale. Ouch. Let's do Newegg only because I don't like third-party sellers too much. So let's do Newegg. Alright, so here we go. So, you know, I mean, obviously depending on what model you buy. This is a single blower here, so you can pretty much just go with the lowest price one here to probably match it. So $219. Okay? You can get it for. Let's see how many I have showing here. Let's show 96. Let's show lowest price. Alright, so $219. And then there's a promo code here with $10 off. You know, so you can get some deals. So let's just get, so that's $80 less. Okay? Now again, I understand if you look up a 1060, you know, on Newegg, maybe you might be able to get it cheaper now, but we're not comparing right now. You know what I'm saying? Oops, why did I do that? Alright, Newegg. Okay, let's do desktop graphics cards. Wait, why did it do that? No. I don't know, they may not even have any 10 series cards available. Here we go. 1060. Alright, so we want the 6 gig. Where is it? 6 gig. Okay, so okay, this is right now though, okay? This is like they're trying to blow these out of stock, so you have to keep that in mind. Okay, the ending price on Nvidia website for a 1060 was $299. So the 1660 was released at about 220 bucks. So that's $80 cheaper for the same performance. So there should be no complaints about that, right? You can get a 1060 now cheap, you know, but why would you do that? You might as well buy a 1660 or a 1660 Ti for that matter. Okay, so that's, you have to compare that. Alright, so now if you go to the 1660 Ti, I mean, it's kind of hard to even know what to compare that to be honest with you. This is the worst thing right here. Worst search thing. I think you got to do it that way, yeah. Okay, so sort by lowest. Alright, so a 1660 Ti is comparable to a GTX 1070. Okay? So that's what we're going to price here. 1070. No, why does it keep doing that? I want the 1070. Alright, so let's see here. GTX 16, okay, yeah, right. I want to do 1660. 1660 Ti. Alright, 1660 Ti. Okay. So we're back here again. Okay. So let's view full specs. So you got a 1070 here on the right. So, and then over here you have the 2060, which is the RTX version of the 1660 Ti, you might as well say, although it is faster. So, but the 1660 Ti performs nearly as good as a 1070 or close. Alright, so this one's only got 1408 CUDA cores, whereas this one's got 1920, and the 2060 has 1920. The memory speed on the 1070 is slower than the 2060. It's the same on the 1660 Ti. Of course, this has 8 gigs at 256-bit, and this is 6 gigs at 192-bit. So your memory bandwidth is only 192. Or I'm looking at the wrong one. I apologize. Crap. Why do they gotta put both on the same thing? Alright, so I'm looking on the left here and the right down here. I apologize. Okay. So 1920 here, 1536 here. So this is using GDDR6, so this actually has faster memory. And the memory bandwidth is actually more on the 1660 Ti than it is on the 1070, so that's quite surprising. Now this has the MVEC encoder, and I don't see it on here either, which is kind of weird. I don't understand that. Why they don't have that MVEC encoder shown here. Just says game stream ready, whatever that means. But anyway, this still has the better encoder on the 1660 Ti as far as I know. So this is actually going to perform nearly the same because it's got the better memory bandwidth. Now compared to the 2060, which is, again, you're going to compare the 2060 to the 1070. So this has the same amount of CUDA cores. Forget about the base and base clock and all that. This has this better, faster memory. It's only 192-bit, but look at this. 336 gigabits per second versus 256 gigabits per second. So that's quite an increase. And the thermals, well, you could say it's comparable. So the RTX 2060 is performing at least as good as a 1070. If not a little bit better. I mean, we could check that out. Let's see. RTX 2060 versus GTX 1070. Let's check it out. Average user bench is plus 9% better. Peak overclock bench 8% better. 7% more frame rates. So the 2060 actually performs slightly better than a 1070. Okay? So they don't have, does it tell you how much it is? Doesn't tell you how much it is. Let's see here. What was it? $299 or $399? Wonder why they don't have it. Let's see. They don't have the price. Alright, let's see how much the 1070 is. Alright, so RTX 2060. And then here, the 1660 Ti. Let's see, GTX 1070. Yeah, they're not going to have any in stock. Okay, so they do have that. And they do have that, so we'll have to look at Newegg here. Or somewhere. GTX 1070. Newegg. Let's see what they have. Probably going to be pretty expensive, but let's see here. They may not have any left. Yeah, they don't have any left. Let's go to Google. I'm selling one. Now these are probably going to be used. I don't know if they have any. Let's see if anybody's selling any for new. Forget about used, because I'm not going to compare used, because again, that's not the same. You can't be doing that. Let's see if Best Buy's got any in stock. No, they just got computers. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to have any. You can try Amazon, but that's probably way overpriced. I would say this 357 is a fair price. Let's see if they have it new. Where do I check for new? Buy used. Buy 549. That's expensive. Well, I don't know. I would say, I don't know why I changed prices here. I would say this used price here is probably where you could get it, you know, when they were going out the door. Now the Founders Edition, when it first came out, was $499. Okay, $499. Okay, the 1660 Ti was, say, $299. Okay, $299. The 2060 was $399. So that's still $100 cheaper for the 260 and $200 cheaper for the you know, or excuse me, I'm sorry. $399 the 1070 came out for. So it's the same price as the 2060, and the 1660 Ti is $100 cheaper. But you know, the 1070s, of course, they went up in price. You know, actually, they might have been $499 when they first came out. So either way, if you're looking at, if you're comparing the 1660 Ti to the 1070, let's see what the 1660 Ti is going to do here. It's probably going to be just slightly slower. Come on, they gotta have comparisons. Okay, they're comparing the 3 cards here, which is interesting. I guess these are all the games that they compared here. So, I mean, if you want to look at like frames per second or whatever, I mean, 1080, 98, 102, 115. So, I mean, the the 1070s at the bottom, 1660 Ti's in the middle, and the 2060. So, I mean, they're all comparable, even though the other two only have 6 gigs of RAM. So, and here's the games that they supposedly, tested. That's a lot of games. So that's on GPUcheck.com. So, this one was with the 4-core processor, though. These are with 6-core processor. So that might be cause maybe some issue, maybe at 1080p. Shouldn't really affect these two, though. So, okay, they're all pretty much the same. So, again, this one was released at like $299 for the founders or whatever. So that's still cheaper than the 1070 was released. And the RTX 2060, I guess you could say it was released around the same price, but it's a better performer. Has slightly better performance. Maybe 10 to 15%. But it has more features. It's got the ray tracing, it's got, the tensor cores and the new NVEC chip in it. Okay? So you can't really say that that's worse. And you can't say that the 2060 is not worth it. Because it's still, you can overclock it and get more out of it. I mean, 5% is 5%, So, was there a gigantic difference in performance? No. Are you paying for less? No. Are you paying for more? Yes, but at the same price or less, depending on how you're looking at it. So you're not losing out. You're not losing performance, you're not losing value. In fact, the value is probably better because there's more stuff in the card. So, alright, so let's just move on here to the next thing, which would be the let me just do side by side because we're done with the 16 series cards. So let me get rid of one of these windows. So we're going to start comparing the Okay, so now we're going to compare the 1080 with the 2070, okay? Because that's how you have to do it. Because that's where the performance is similar. Because you're going to buy what you're paying for now. Okay, you're not going by numbers. Forget the numbers. I don't know why they did the numbers the way they did them, but they shouldn't have done it that way. Then over here you got the 20 series. So here we're going to do the 2070. Okay? So it's out of stock, the Founders Edition. Alright, so let's compare these two. Alrighty. I don't know why they do the Founders Edition. So stupid. But anyway, we'll just compare the Founders Edition. I guess it's overclocked a little bit. I mean, big deal. I mean, the boost clock goes up anyway, so I don't even know why they have that. I mean, I know for a fact because I have a 2070 and a 1080 and a 1060 and a 1070 and an RTX 2080 Ti, so I know I'm speaking from experience. Alright, so the 2070 has 2,304 CUDA cores, whereas the 1080 has 2,560. So this has about 260 more. The boost clock 1733 versus 1710, which again I really don't think that makes a big difference. The memory speed though is the 2070 is 14 gigabits per second, the 1080 is 10 gigabits per second. They're both 256-bit. The memory bandwidth though of the 1080 is only 320, and the memory bandwidth of the RTX 2070 is 448. That is quite a jump. Hey Tom, how's it going, man? So that's 120 gigabits per second quicker. That's outrageous. This one has no ray tracing. This one's got ray tracing. This also has the new NVEC, which again I don't see them having their thing listed here, but it just says stream ready. I don't know why they don't have the chip on there, but anyway. So, and then this also has the tensor cores, which doesn't show here, and the new Turing architecture. Okay, and we're going to go to the comparison in a minute. And then, of course, the wattage. It's similar. It's not really much different. Okay, so just looking at these specs, the 2070 looks better than the GTX 1080. Alright, now the 1080 when it was first released sold for $599. Okay? $599. Get your head around that. $599. The 2070 when it was released, it doesn't say what the Founders Edition cost is here. It might have been $499, I believe, and the Founders Edition was $599. Well, they released the Founders Edition at $599, but the third-party sellers, it was released at $499. So it was $100 cheaper. So but even if they were both sold at $599, which one's going to be better? Let's check it out. Okay. So we're going to do GTX 1080 versus RTX 2070. Okay, we're going to check this out. Alright. So 2070 here is showing that average user bench is 9% better, peak overclock plus 10%, games were overall FPS wise was 8% better. So average bench 120%, average bench 122%. So the RTX 2070 by this thing is slightly better. Now, I tested my RTX 2070 against my GTX 1080 Strix Edition, the overclock Strix Edition, okay? And my 2070 beat it out very comfortably. I mean, it wasn't like it was neck and neck. You know, the 2070 beat it by anywhere from, I don't know, I would say 10 to 15%. So, you know, I guess everybody's going to have a different result, I guess, based on I don't know what, but that was my results. So the 2070 definitely is better than a 1080, without a doubt. Let me see if they have any more here. I only see this user benchmark, that's it. No, that's a TI. Shoot. Let's see what this website here, Game Debate. How you been doing, Tom, if you're still looking? Laggy website there. Yeah, I don't know why, where they all are. GTX 1080 versus RTX 2080. There's usually a couple different, okay, here we go. I don't know what this is. Alright, so here it's telling you reasons to consider the 2070, the 7% higher gaming performance, yeah, ray tracing, DLSS. So yeah. So the RTX 2070 is better. So, you know, for the same price, you're getting better performance and more stuff. So, Nvidia is in no way ripping people off. They're not price gouging people. And they're not selling it more expensive. If anything, if you want to go by the third-party sellers, you can get a RTX 2070 for like $479 for a 2070. So, and it just came out, like 6 months ago. So it hasn't even been a year yet. So if the prices do go down, then man, you're getting the real bargain, I'm telling you. Because my Strix Edition 1080, which is a really nice card and a very good performer, just could not even touch it. And that one's overclocked, so my RTX 2070 was a black edition. Alright, so let's go to the next level here. GTX 1080 Ti, baby. Everybody's favorite. I was never able to get one. Because they were too expensive by the time I had money to buy one. So I ended up getting a 1080 Strix Edition. Overpriced. I got mine for $650 or $680 or something during the mining craze, which was a lot of money. Okay, so let's check this out. 1080 Ti versus RTX 2080. Now, why are we comparing these? Well, because they're within the same price range. So that's what you want to look at when it comes to the video cards. Processors, a little different, right? So we're just going to go by the Founders Edition, which really doesn't really make a big difference again. Alright, so the RTX 2080 has 2,944 CUDA cores. Okay? Whereas the GTX 1080 Ti has 3,584. So that's like about, 600 more CUDA cores than the 2080. Of course, 2080 has ray tracing cores capability, whereas the 1080 Ti doesn't. But it does if you do it software. Now the 2080 Ti, the 2080 only has 8 gigs of GDDR6, whereas the 1080 Ti has the GDDR5X, which runs at 11 gigabits per second. GDDR6 runs at 14 gigabits per second. This is 352 bits, whereas this one's 256 bits. That's where I'm wondering, was confused. Like, why didn't they make that 352 bits, the 2080? I mean, and then made the 2080 Ti 512. You know, that's what I just could not understand. But whatever, they did what they did. So the memory bandwidth on the 1080 Ti actually is better, has more bandwidth than the RTX 2080, but the 2080 has the Turing architecture. Now this is not showing the clock speeds here for some reason. The 2080 has a boost clock of 1800. Of course, it's got all the same stuff I talked about on the other cards. Ray tracing, it's got the tensor cores, Turing architecture, and the new NVEC encoder. The wattage is probably better on the 2080, a little bit, but you know, they're pretty comparable in that respect. So the RTX 2080, from the looks of it, looks like it's worse than the 1080 Ti. Okay? But they're in the same price range. So now I understand the 1080 Ti when it was at the very end of its life and Nvidia wanted to get them sold out, right? That they were selling like dirt cheap. Okay? Um, let's get a new egg here. Whoops. Oh, I didn't have to do that, did I? Oh yeah, I can keep this like this. Alright, good. So, you know, right now the 1080 Ti is just going for a ridiculous price. I mean, it's like stupid. Okay, so 600 bucks, and that's refurbished. So they do have some new ones. Let's see. So, okay, so new. I mean, they're over $1,000. Hee hee. So, you know, there is no comparison here. You might as well buy an RTX 2080 Ti. Alright, so, yeah. So we can say used, though. Let's do like new used, whatever that means. Alright, so we're going to do the like new used. So that's $749. So $799, 800 and something. So it's the same price as the RTX 2080. Okay, even used. So yeah, it's not even going to be a bargain there. There's no point in even buying it, in my opinion. Why buy old? I mean, unless you need the 11 gigabytes of RAM, VRAM, for video editing or whatever, but you don't necessarily need that. You know, it's already been proven that the 8 gigs is just as good. So I don't know how, let's see here. 2080, let's change that, whoops. And then TI. Let's see if it works. Okay, so the 2080 Ti performs 6% higher here, it says. And, you know, of course, you already know it's got the ray tracing, DLSS capability, the NVEC encoder, async compute. It's got actually all the Turing cards have the better compute, so that's even better than Pascal. I forgot to mention that. So overall, it performs better. So let's check another site here. Let's see, GTX 1080 Ti versus RTX 2080. Let's go to GPU user bench here and see what they say. So average user bench 2%, they're getting overclock bench 1%, frames per second 4%. So the RTX 2080 wins there. Of course, I think that just goes by like users. I mean, in some cases, you know, I've heard people say it again was 10 to 15% faster. So, you know, everything's gonna be different. You know what I'm saying? So, right here it's saying that the average price of the 1080 Ti is $807, whereas the RTX 2080 is $693. So, we'll just be fair and say whatever. Let's just say they're both $700. I understand you want to go by that last price of the GTX 1080 Ti, but that was just a blowout price to get them off the shelves. I'm pretty sure of that. Nvidia definitely wouldn't have sold them that cheap if they were going to continue with the Pascal series. There was just no way. Alright, so let's see here. 1080 average 1080p performance. And again, they're using a 4-core processor versus a 6-core processor. I don't know if I like that. So the 2080 is faster in 1080, and it's a little bit faster at 1440, and you know, roughly nearly the same at 4K. But you know, the Ti has 11 gigs, the RTX 2080 has 8 gigs. But again, right now, if you were going to choose between the two, it'll be cheaper to get an RTX 2080. So that's just the market right now. So again, here's another scenario where you're not getting anything less except for the memory. But you know, you're now comparing a Ti version versus a regular version. But they're within the same performance, you know, range, where the RTX 2080 actually beats out the 1080 Ti, even though it has more CUDA cores, or excuse me, the RTX 2080 has less CUDA cores than the 1080 Ti and less VRAM than the 1080 Ti, but the Turing's better than Pascal, and the memory bandwidth is greater on the RTX 2080, so you know, you're getting more performance out of it. So again, the price is basically the same. It's definitely not worse. You know, so Nvidia is not price gouging anyone because you're getting the same performance. I mean, the only argument that you have here is that the 1080 Ti has more VRAM. That's it. You know, but it's slower. So, and right now it costs more. So, I don't think anybody has an argument there. Now, what do you compare the 2080 Ti to? That's the big question. So, here's what we're going to do here. RTX 2080 Ti. And let's go to the Titan cards. Let's see. Let's see here. I don't know if we can even find it. Where are they at? How do I even find the Titan cards? I guess I'm gonna have to go type it in. Well, I'm gonna go to the Titan V now, because that was the last one. There it is. Woohoo! Titan V. That was the one that was out when the RTX 2080 Ti was released. Okay? We didn't have the Titan RTX yet. Now technically I should compare the Titan RTX to the Titan V, but that's only going to make all the people who have been complaining about the price look worse. Okay, so I'm actually being very fair, overly fair to the Titan V. Okay, so let's look at the, first of all, look at the price. The Founders Edition 2080 Ti is $1,199, whereas the Titan V is $2,999. Okay, now I think, yeah, that's what it was, $3,000. Okay, now we can also open up the Titan RTX. We can look at them all if you want, but you can't really compare the RTX. That's kind of stupid because we're not comparing same generation, except for the 1600 series and the 2060. That's different. All right, so yeah, I can't even throw in the RTX Titan. All right, so we're gonna look at the specs here. Look at the specs. All right, so look at this. Now the Titan V was pretty freaking ridiculous when it came out. I mean, it's still kind of ridiculous now, actually. So the 2080 Ti has 4,352 CUDA cores, whereas the Titan V has 5,120. Okay, that's ridiculous. Alright, so what is that? 700 more? 800 more? Or 700 more? 800 more. So the Titan V has 800 more CUDA cores roughly. Now remember, the RTX 2080 Ti is RTX capable, so that means ray tracing, DLSS, AI crap. The base clock on the Titan V was 1200, ugh. And the 2080 Ti is 1350, which is actually, ugh, I hate that, but the 2080 Ti is better on the base and better on the boost. Memory clock here, I don't understand it. What is going on with that? It's very low, like 850 megahertz. I don't really get that at all. So what is the memory bandwidth? That's what we're going to look at here. Alright, so there's 11 gigs of GDDR6 on the 2080 Ti and 12 gigabytes of HBM2 on the Titan V. So about the same, say, the 1 gig off, big deal. Now we're not going to worry about the bit. We're just going to go with this memory bandwidth here, because that's what you want to look at. Okay. So the RTX 2080 Ti has 616 gigabits per second of bandwidth, and the Titan V has 652, so they're about the same on memory bandwidth. But as we saw earlier, that doesn't necessarily matter because the Turing architecture performs better. Okay? And we're going to see that in a second. And of course the 2080 Ti has the new NVEC encoder and whatever. I don't know what GPU boost is. Forgot about that. I guess that's the boost clock. I don't know. This has all the new connectors, Type-C, Virtual Link. This one does not. It doesn't really tell you how many transistors are in here, I don't think. Now the wattage is going to be, let's see here, about the same? Same. That's interesting. So 260 watts. And this is 250, so they're about the same. Okay? So from the looks of it on the surface, they look the same. Okay? they look similar, I should say. The Titan V actually, on paper, looks better. But, again, $1,200 versus $3,000. Okay? So let's compare these two now. Okay, here we go. RTX 2080 Ti versus Titan V. Here we go. Okay, so this says effective speed, the RTX 2080 Ti is 5% faster. Average bench, 2080 Ti is 10% better. Overclock, 18% better. Okay, so the RTX 2080 Ti wins. Beats out a Titan V. That's more than twice the price of it. Okay, so let's go back here again. See if we can find another one here. I don't know where all the other other comparison sites are. Like, where'd they go? There used to be at least 3. This is overclock3d.net. Looking at the results above, we can see that the Titan V not only offers less performance in Battlefield 5 than an RTX 2080 Ti, but that the RTX 2080 Ti can set ray tracing to low and offer a frame rate disadvantage of 2 frames per second when compared to the Titan V with RTX disabled. This is a far cry from the performance parity that was rumored. And now, analyzing the results further, we can also see the Titan V lost over 30% of its performance at 1440p when setting DXR to low, while the RTX 2080 Ti only lost 19% of its performance. Nvidia's RTX series is a lot more capable of handling ray tracing workloads. We'd also be willing to bet that this performance gap would get wider as Battlefield 5's RTX settings were increased further. So here they're saying that the 2080 Ti is better. This is a forum. We don't want a forum. Let's see what this thing is. RTX, Titan RTX versus... Okay, so here on this PCenthusiast.com, they're comparing all 3, the Titan RTX, the 2080 Ti, and the Titan V. Oh, and the Titan XP, actually. So let's see if they gave us any graphs here. No, I guess not. That sucks. We want benchmarks, man. Well, they got 2 of these here. That's a 20. Oh, that's a 2080. So here on the Reddit, there's a little discussion here, which is the question I would have asked. And you know, here's always the goofy arguments. Because the Titan V is not a gaming GPU, and a 2080 Ti is not on par with the Titan V, it's actually better. by a long shot. 10% is quite a difference. But the Titan V can be used for gaming. There was people that bought it and used it for gaming. So, you know, otherwise you're saying that the 2080 Ti has nothing to compare itself to, which means that there is no argument then to say it's too expensive. Because there's nothing to compare it to in that case. You have to compare it to something. So you can compare it to a Titan V, which was the previous Titan card, or you can compare it to the Titan RTX, which is the present Titan card. And the 2080 Ti is not really that much slower than the Titan RTX. I mean, the 2080 Ti is a beast. So here, let's do this. Titan. Let's see if somebody did it. Titan RTX versus RTX 2080 Ti. See, nobody's done this. That's why I'm doing this. I mean, I hope this video gets seen by somebody. Okay? So let's compare the Titan RTX with the 2080 Ti. Okay? Because if you don't want to compare it to the Titan V, which was $3,000, which was the previous flagship card, okay, whether you want to call it a gaming card or not, that's besides the point. It still was a consumer-based card. You know, it was within a consumer price range. And it totally obliterated the previous Titans, you know, by a long shot. So that's why it cost so much. Forget about the Titan X, I mean, and all those dummy things. The 2080 Ti kills the Titan X. I mean, we can compare it to a Titan X too. But let's do the RTX here. Let's see if they have a GPU user benchmark here. Yeah. So here we go. So the Titan RTX, which is how much? $2,500. Okay, so it's still more than, it's about twice the price. And the Titan RTX is only 8% faster on speed, 10% faster on average benches, and only 4% faster in overclock. Now, you know, and the average bench is 214% versus 199, so it's only 15% difference overall. So for twice the price, 15%, it's not even it's not even worth it for you to even get the Titan RTX unless you absolutely need the 24 gigabytes of you know, VRAM or whatever. I mean, let's look at the specs. It has 72 RT cores, whereas this one has doesn't really tell you. So this one's got 2080 Ti has 4,352 CUDA cores, and Titan has 4,608. I thought I had more than that though. So it's only 300 difference, not even 300. Gigarrays, it's not really telling us how to. Doesn't really tell us how much it does here, because it kind of does things a little differently. The memory bandwidth on the 2080 Ti is 616, whereas the memory bandwidth on this is 672. Yeah, so I mean, it's 72 RT cores. It doesn't tell you how many RT cores this has. It just says RT ops, whatever that means. Operations, I guess. So I mean, the Titan has some more CUDA cores. It has probably a lot more tensor cores. I don't know, because that's 576. Seems like a lot. Um, and it has a lot more memory, and that's it. So, yeah. So I mean, but the RTX 2080 Ti is really not much slower than it. So again, it's not worth it to buy this to get more performance. It's just not worth the extra money. So the 2080 Ti, I mean, I don't know where the argument is. Where's the argument that the RTX cards are not worth it or they're too expensive? I mean, you're getting more, no matter what, you're getting more than what you got from Pascal. You're getting a little bit more performance, and in some cases a lot when you go lower. The 2060, the 1660 Ti, and the 1660. Well, yeah, I mean, price per performance, they're great cards. The 2070 is comparable to the 1080, but it does beat it. The 2080 is comparable to the 1080 Ti, but it beats it. And the 2080 Ti is comparable to the Titan V. Okay? But it beats it by a pretty healthy margin, and it's like way cheaper. So now you have a Titan XP here, which is $1,200. So if you want to compare the 2080 Ti to the Titan XP, then you have even a worse argument. I'm pretty sure. Because for $1,200, you're getting more CUDA cores, you're getting ray tracing, tensor cores, DLSS, faster memory speed, faster memory, memory bandwidth on the 2080 Ti 1660 16 versus 547. You're getting the new NVEC encoder with the 2080 Ti. So again, the 2080 Ti is, you compare it to the last Titan card. I'm not sure what people are complaining about. The Titan XP was $1,200, and I didn't hear people cry about that. You know, and they're only crying because this is called a 2080 Ti. But that's if you go by the amount of cards that they have, it falls in line right where it should. You know, there isn't like any cards missing. You have the 1650, the 1660, or yeah, the RTX 2060, the RTX 2070, the RTX 2080, and the 2080 Ti. You know, so you have the 1050. So how many is that? 1650, 1660, 2060, 2070, 2080, 2080 Ti. That's 6. So the Pascal, you had the 1050, 1060, 1070, 1080, and 1080 Ti. So that's only 5. And then the XP. So you actually have one more card than you did during the Pascal series. So they numbered it just the way they had to number it. You know, to kind of keep the naming scheme, I guess. I'm not sure why they did it that way. But here, $1,200, Titan XP, $1,200, 2080 Ti. So let's see, let's compare the two. RTX 2080 Ti versus Titan XP. And I already know that 2080 Ti is going to kill this thing. I mean, look at the difference. For the same price, well, that's from listed, you know. You can get an RTX 2080 Ti for 999 bucks. So the 2080 Ti, effective speed 28% faster, average user bench 38% better, overclock bench plus 43% better, value and sentiment. People definitely like this one over this one. Boy, these bugs everywhere. Average bench 155 versus 199, so that's quite a difference, 45%. So, I mean, it just the complaining out there is just noise. You know, there's just no reason for it. Here you go, GPU check. This is what I wanted to go to before with the other ones. So here we go. Check it out. Look at this. Titan XP 2080 Ti, same price. 1080p, 161 frames per second for the 2080 Ti, only 99 for the Titan XP. That's quite a difference. 1440, 2080 Ti, 124, 75 for Titan XP. 4K performance for the 2080 Ti, 75, Titan XP 45. I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, it's ridiculous, you know, for the same price, and people are complaining that the 2080 Ti is not a better performer. I mean, look at these numbers. You're talking 38% or more. So, for the same price. So, you know, there is no argument. There's no argument. The RTX cards are not priced wrong at all. In fact, I think they're priced right well. I mean, yeah, we all want cheaper cards, but they're not going to sell something cheaper that costs more to make. I mean, arguably, it costs more to make. Alright, so I have something else here I wanted to go over, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I want to look at the reviews, okay? Reviews, because that's what's going to matter. Where's the reviews here? Micro Center. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh man, I went and closed it out by accident. Oh, that sucks. Alright, so let's go to newegg.com. Alright, RTX 2080 Ti. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the 2080 Ti, because this is the one that everybody like throws their arms up about. Let's go with the desktop graphics cards. Let's go with just Newegg. Why do they have it like this? I don't understand. Desktop graphics cards. Let's do it this way. '20 series. Okay, here we go. 2080 Ti. New, of course. Newegg. Okay, we're gonna go lowest price first. Okay, and we're gonna read the reviews now. Now, if these were such crappy cards, then there would be a lot of negative reviews, right? Lots. So here's the EVGA, which is $1,099. I told people you can get it. So look, Titan XP, 1200, RTX 2080 Ti, $1,099. So let's open this up in a new tab, and we're going to read the 13 reviews. Okay. Now, of course, you're always going to have a negative somewhere, so date posted, that would be the most recent. Now, why would the most recent be better? The most recent reviews would be better because the drivers have been worked on, the ray tracing's been improved, and whatever that memory problem was that they were having in the beginning was hopefully fixed. So we're going to start from the newest and go down to the oldest. Okay, so now everybody's going to have their reasons for liking it, right? So here it says, great card for water cooling. So he's an enthusiast, so let's skip him. Great product, better service. The card worked perfectly, no issues installing or setting up. The box was pristine and unscratched. The seller clearly prioritized customer service above all. Anyway, so he likes it. Great value for 2080 Ti. Now, of course, they're talking about this price here, probably $1,099. It's a nice card, and I don't feel like I'm missing out by not buying it for the win. Like that's the more expensive one. Here, amazing product. It runs everything max over 100 frames per second at 3440 by 1440, and it overclocks well. No major gripe. Not a major gripe, but it runs hot. Max load on custom curve about 74. That's not really hot. 74 degrees is not hot. These cards can run like up to 95 degrees. So, and of course he's probably overclocking it. So, there you go. But either way, he likes the card. Amazing for 4K at 60 frames per second. Now I can vouch that you can get above 60 frames per second in a lot of most of the titles out there. So here, one card, better performance than 2 GTX 1080s and SLI at 4K. Finally feel good about being able to purchase a 2080 Ti for some value, as it came with 3 games. I don't know about the fans making a click. Not sure what that is. He probably should take that back. That's not the Nvidia's fault. That would be EVGA's fault. Now I have 2 EVGA RTX 2070s and the fans are no problem. I don't have any problems with the fans. They don't make any kind of noise. Now here they're saying would have liked to knock off $250 and skip the games, but come on, let's be realistic. But either way, he likes the card. Okay, this card's a beast. Runs all my games at Ultra 1440 at 100 plus frames per second. Again, I can vouch for that. 1440, it kills it. He doesn't really care about the ray tracing, but that doesn't hurt the performance. That's just, you know what I mean? That doesn't affect regular game performance. So he bought it in Canada for 1,500 Canadian. So, whatever. He said I'm good for years. That's true. Ran at 80 plus degrees before I set my own fan curve. Well, obviously, you have to do that. These cards, when they sit, the fans don't even spin. I've never seen that before in all the cards I've ever owned. My RTX 2070s, the 2 that I have, and my 2080 Ti. If you don't overclock it or play around with it, if you're just like browsing the internet or doing whatever, the fans don't even spin. That's how power efficient they are. And that's how good the coolers they have on them are. Quiet on stock cooler. Beefy cooler. Excellent performance at 1440. So these guys are probably playing like at, high frames per second on 1440p monitors, I would imagine. So what's he say here? I believe 1440 is a sweet spot, even with ray tracing and everything maxed, I don't drop below 100 or so. Oh, look at that. So he even does 1440 with ray tracing, and I can vouch for that too. The 2080 Ti can run ray tracing at 1440 pretty well. I don't know about 100, but it was pretty good. Doable frame rates. I mean, you don't want to play a competitive game anyway if with ray tracing on. That's kind of silly. Um, so he's saying you don't really need to spend an extra $500 for some fancy overclock version. He got 785 on the memory and 185 on the core with all the sliders max, so that's pretty decent. This one says awesome graphics card. RTX looks amazing. I read a lot of negativity about it and read some reviews which tend to just show nice pictures of puddles as the only benefit. But I find all the lighting in the game looks better. I mostly play Battlefield 5 with a 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide monitor, which this card runs with no problem, and frame rates stay steadily between 60 and 90 frames per second. The card is super quiet and runs at 70 degrees under load, though I have good airflow in my case, so that probably helps, because some reviews were saying runs at 84 under load, but I haven't found that at all. RTX is amazing. Definitely a nice upgrade from my 1080 Ti. There you go. Somebody upgraded from that great and wonderful and fantastic 1080 Ti to a 2080 Ti, and they're happy. So, can't argue with that. Somebody's testimony. Now 3440 by 1440, from what I've heard from people, that's really rough on video cards, that resolution. Now I don't know for sure if you can, if you have another experience with it, if it's not that bad on graphics cards, but everything I've read, that 3440 by 1440 ultra wide, man. Whew, it takes a beefy card to run that at good frame rates, from what I read. Let me know what you think, though, or if you have one. It's great performance as other more expensive ones with default clock. Outstanding price with good quality. It's got precision 1. Can be most easy for overclock. It's hot when I play games. It's over 70 degrees. I don't know why people aren't putting the fan up high enough. If you put the fan at like 50%, and which isn't loud at all, 50% is not loud. You can't even hear it still. It should keep that temperature like down between 50 and 60. So I'm not sure what these guys are doing. I have a 2080 Ti, so I know. And mine's only 2 fans. Alright, so here we go. Top of the line card. Well, we know that. Handles anything thrown at it. Definitely a great investment if you're running anything lower than a 1080. Oh, right. He means upgrade. If you have a 1080 or 1080 Ti, I would say not to upgrade, as you are still perfectly fine for gaming and streaming. But that depends on what you're doing. If you're 4K gaming now, the 1080 Ti just isn't going to do it. But here it says this card tears through everything and produces outstanding performance. Now remember, this is EVGA, right? We're just talking about one particular brand here. So let's just get that clear. Again, I'm just, trying to tell you that the 2080 Ti is not a bad card. Everybody who gets one, 95% of the people that buy one have no complaints whatsoever. Here it says, puts everything at ultra, gets 74 degrees Celsius after 3 to 4 hours of Dota, PUBG, CS, Battlefield 5, RA2. Small form factor for MATX case. Idles at 39 degrees and 74 when gaming. What's the cons now that this guy's talking about? This GPU has the same problem as Gigabyte 2080 and 2080 Ti. The fans are revving at certain temperature, and we can hear the clicking when it starts revving. Well, see, that's an EVGA problem. You know what I'm saying? My Asus 2080 Ti, you can't hear anything. I even have the fans turned up to like, when I overclock it up to 65%, and you still can't hear the fans. And they're just on steadily. So this guy needs to put on the fan curve so that the fans, you don't even need to use the fan curve really, just put it at 50%. I mean, all the time. It's not really going to use that much power. Why walk when you can run? My setup. I was running a 3440 by 1440 100 Hz monitor with G-Sync. I was getting 80 to 90 frames per second in total and could reach 100 frames if I turned down some settings. This GPU runs everything at max, not high with shadows on medium, but maxed out everything. Resident Evil 2 full res texture detail at 8 gigabytes. Tomb Raider on max. All CODs maxed out. Prey, Kingdom Come Deliverance, everything maxed out. I'll get a solid 100 frames per second with no dips of any kind. This GPU is amazing. If you have a 4K ultra-wide monitor at high refresh, don't even look at anything below a 2080 Ti. If you have enough to spend on a 4K ultra-wide monitor at 1K, then you have enough for this GPU too. There's absolutely no coil whine with this card. So here this guy's saying his run's quiet. I don't know. Here. Great card, terrible price. Okay, so he doesn't like the price. But he says more affordable than Titan cards. Pros, 4K performance. Cheapest 2080 Ti from EVGA. But see here, this guy is just talking without any proof. Price scalping has made this card 2 pajamas over manufacturer. I don't know how. What's he saying there? But this is a great value. I already proved that to you with the comparisons. But anyway, he says it's a great card, so that's all that you need to know. Did he take it back? We need someone, AMD, Intel, anyone really, to break up Nvidia monopoly. Nvidia doesn't have a monopoly. RTX works very poorly. Now he's talking about the ray tracing. And that's actually not true. Which the guy up there testified, and I can testify. At 1440p, ray tracing works very fine, and you can get over 60 frames per second. That's great. They should have introduced 2080 Ti for about $650. Well, that's just stupid. I mean, that's very dumb. That's not even like realistic. It's stupid. I'm sorry to say, that's just dumb. Alright, so let's go to... How do I get back here? I can't see it. Where is it? Oh, sorry. Forgot I opened it up in a tab. So, let's look at another one here. Let's look at one that... let's look at... Well, that's only 2 reviews. This is the one I have, the Asus Dual. And I haven't had any problems. I bought it back in November. No problems at all. So these are probably going to be old reviews. I wonder if it tells you. Okay, but see? So this one died after 3 months, so that was March. So I don't know what's going on with that guy. Mine didn't die, so I'm testifying that mine didn't die. And that really probably has nothing to do with... I don't think it has to do with Nvidia. You know? But, whatever. That happens, though. I've gotten dead GPUs before, and dead processors, and dead RAM. So you're always going to have some percentage of hardware that's going to be either dead on arrival or defective. It's just the way it is. But this guy says the price is why I can't give it 5 stars, but still an awesome card. So, yes, the reviews have shown, due to the price, this card is not worth upgrading from a 1080 Ti. Of course, that's his opinion, because the other guy said he was happy doing that. But I went for it, and I'm glad I did. Okay? So he's glad he upgraded from a 1080 Ti. Card was running fairly cool and quiet with stock heatsink in an ITX case. Okay? And nice to be able to play all my games in 4K without ray tracing. But that's an added feature why I bought the card. Once I put this under water, it shines. So he's water cooling it now, so that's crazy. Here he says, not the card's fault, but Nvidia really set up RTX to be a gimmick at first since nothing was out to show what it could do. With ray tracing and DLSS besides Battlefield 5. More titles coming out will make or break ray tracing DLSS, but so far Metro plays and looks great with ray tracing. There you go. And looking forward to checking out Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Okay, and he's not happy that he didn't wait because he didn't get any free games. Neither did I, or did I? Did I get a free game with mine? No, I don't know if I got a free game with mine either. Okay, now ray tracing wasn't a gimmick, and I told you earlier why, in my opinion, Nvidia should have released RTX. We're getting ray trace games now and next year. Why? Because we have ray tracing in Nvidia cards now. That's why. So, what if Nvidia waited till next year to release the cards? Then we'd be waiting another year or two for ray trace games. So, you know, you got to get the stuff out, you know, to get the developers on board. So this was dead on arrival. That happens. You can go to AMD cards and see the same thing. So that's not really an argument. And this guy still loves his card. So he might not have liked the price, but it's still a great card. He's happy with it. He didn't return it. He ain't stuck with it. He could have returned it. Okay, so, and yes, I am on a rant right now because I'm giving proof. Look at the reviews. Don't look at the negative reviews. Look at the people reviews, user reviews, not the negative comments on YouTube and stuff. Here's the Asus card. I don't really know too much about them. I wish I had one, but so here's 46 reviews. So date posted, so this is new, 6/21. So let's see. Able to game in 4K with the highest quality while it lasted. I know I have a $1,500 brick in my PC if I game at 2K for more than 20 minutes. I start to get flashes of colored orbs, then really bad artifacts. Never overclocked, played maybe once a week. Okay. So he obviously might have got a bad card, you know. But again, who puts these cards together, don't forget. It's Asus. So again, you can't necessarily blame that on Nvidia because you don't know if it was them or Asus. Right? But, you know, again, hardware can fail, you know. And sometimes these third-party sellers, even great companies like Asus, don't always make great cards, you know. Gigabyte was having some crappy stuff there for a little while. The other thing that some people don't realize about like the 2080 Ti is that the fan won't come on, and if it overheats too fast before the fan gets to ramp up, then it's going to artifact. So what I recommend, I tell people, is go to your fan settings and turn the fans on. Even if you just put them the fan curve on, just always start them at like 25% so that they're at least spinning. And then, put that fan curve up on a very steady, up as the temperature goes up. And then kind of plateau at a certain point, like if you don't want it to go over like 60% fan speed, because that should still be good enough at load. Because these are really finicky for some reason. Because remember what I told you, the fans don't spin at idle. So if you pop on a game real quick and it starts pulling that power from the card, it's going to get hot real quick. And, I'm no technical person, but, I'm no technical person, but, it's, that's just what I recommend doing, So, something just fell down over there. Here's another one here. I upgraded from EVGA Superclock 1080s and SLI, and I'm not even sure if there's been any improvement. In 1440 with the same settings as before, I'm barely above 60 frames per second. Something's wrong. That's not right. Is this a real customer or what? So it's obviously something with the Asus cards, because and there's really no problem fixing this. When you have a bad card, you just RMA it, and they'll send you a new card, So these Asus Strix versions don't seem to be very good. But again, that's probably not Nvidia's fault. Again. So what happened with this one now? Fastest card I ever had, but this card is simply amazing. You can throw anything out of the 1440. It doesn't even stress it. Always staying at 50 to 55 degrees Celsius under gaming, and only 20 to 30 degrees Celsius at idle. So coming from a Strix 1080, I knew the card would be silent like the other Strix cards. Well, not. At first it was coil whine. I thought it was not that bad, that it would not go away as I run it. Well, I was wrong. Now it's so bad I don't even want to game. Okay, so see, that's obviously an Asus problem. That's not an Nvidia problem. So that right there tells you that there's obviously a cooling problem with their cards. Now this one was June 4th. This card is very silent and fast and was shipped very fast. RBG looks very good. The card unfortunately arrived with a dented edge on the back plate. Wow. He got a replacement card, so there you go. So he likes it. Powerful but whiny. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Runs cool, looks great, very quiet fans, but where's the whine coming from? See, this guy's doing 1440p at 144. So here it's got coil whine. Replacement has less, but still some. It's not loud enough to hear through headphones now, so I stop. But for this price. Again, that's not an Nvidia problem. Let me see who's out here. Somebody's out here. I hear something. Hold on. Probably deer. So again, I know I always make these long videos, but you know, I don't, everybody always like does everything so quick and just shoots stuff out of their mouth. Even the YouTube reviewers, I'm sorry to say, I love them, but you know, it's like a love-hate relationship because you know, they're not going over looking at all these things like this. I mean, and you know, when there's problems, you have to look at what the problem is, you know what I'm saying? Now these gigabyte cards too, I was at Micro Center and people said that they didn't like the gigabyte fans. So again, that's not an Nvidia problem, you know? How about MSI? Only 3 reviews. Reliable and great overclocker. I use this card for machine learning, though I've tested it for some light gaming. It's an amazing performer and exceeds the advertised boost speeds. This is with plain air cooling. And of course he says I wish they were cheaper, but it has already justified itself for my own purposes. So there you go. You know, I mean, nobody likes paying for Titan level, you know, prices, but you're getting well above Titan performance from the previous generation. So again, he's happy. He didn't return it. So the people that are going to complain are the ones that don't have one, you know? Or if they get a defective one, which is, you know, going to happen. And of course, the fan problems are not Nvidia's problem. They didn't make the fans. Here it says, easy setup, easy frames, great upgrade from a GTX 1080. Let's see here what he says. The card has never gone above 60 degrees Celsius. Price. For one, the cheapest RTX 2080 Ti out there. I was expecting it not to overclock as well, but it has. Was worried it would be a lower quality bin chip than the ones that cost hundreds more, but tests have shown that it performs just as well. Price 2. Same goes for cooling. Was expecting the card to run hot, but so far it runs cooler than my 1080. Fans during benchmarks haven't gone above 60%. Weight. The card is heavy, obviously. I'm wondering how it would hold up over the next months and may need to install something to hold up one of the corners. Depends on how you have your computer. Like my Asus here, I probably might want to get a little kickstand for it. It doesn't really have any GPU sag yet. Overall, I'm thoroughly impressed. Again, I was worried that opting for cheaper of the 2080 Ti's would give me a card that wasn't good for overclocking and have a bad cooling solution. MSI has proved me wrong. So there you go. I was wanting a card that was going to allow me to max settings on my games and push out 144 frames per second at 1440p. And this card does exactly that. Can't wait to try out this VR performance. Okay, so there you go. The card is a beast for 4K gaming. Able to run any current game maxed at 60 frames plus. Battlefield 5 looks amazing. With everything on Ultra, with DX12, I never dropped below 60 frames per second. Compared with my 1080 Ti from MSI, this new 2080 Ti seems to be more quiet. You should be able to run max settings on your games for a long time, and when the 1080 Ti came out, optimization will take time and performance should even get better. Not really sure what he means by that. Maybe I read it wrong. Here it says there's a little coil whine before the card warms up, but it's really not a big deal. I don't have any coil whine on my card at all. I don't know why that would be. So the lighting, he didn't like the lighting or something. So that's why it took one egg off. So that has nothing to do with the performance. Okay, so no one has sent the card back because it wasn't performing well. Some people had either some defective card or defective fans, you know. Which one is this? Yeah. Alright, so let's check out Micro Center. I even looked up Best Buy too. Oh, here it is, right here. Came back. Okay, so let's try Best Buy, just your normal everyday retail store. PNY 2080 Ti. I don't always like these reviews because they kind of mix them together. I hate that. See all customer reviews. Let's see. Do they have a way to... Here, verified purchases. Here we go. Let's do most recent. This is the PNY version. Awesome card has handled everything I throw at it on 4K with no overclocking. Runs good. A bit hot, but not bad. Powerful card. Card runs everything you could possibly want it to run. It's subtle, yet amazing. The best part is it's bin, but still uses reference PCB for water cooling block fitment down the road. Reference design. For anyone at water cooling, this model does use the reference design, so you can use standard 2080 Ti water block. Powerful, but overpriced. How much is this? 13? This product gave me the fidelity I wanted, but cost is much higher than it should be. He says I would recommend it though. Great card all around. Yes, these graphics cards are pricey, but that aside, I like the simplicity of the card. It may not have the fancy RBG, but it's a powerhouse. Clock speeds are fantastic. Have had no issues whatsoever. The key is to have adequate space and good airflow. Definitely a card I'd recommend. Worked great with my Alienware graphics amplifier. A little pricey, but still great upgrade from 1070. I would recommend to a friend. Okay, this one says I would not recommend. Why? The card is great and overclocks well. I have a clock speed of 2100. Wow, that's quite high. This issue I have is the build quality. Compared to the MSI 2080 I have and my previous EVGA 1080, the card feels like it's made with cheaper material. Thermals are also just okay. For the $100 premium, I would just stick to the Founders card or try to find a Strix that has great VRAM and power balancing. Okay, so he's not recommending it because of the performance problem. It's just because he doesn't like the PNY model. Okay? But he does recommend the EVGA and MSI models, possibly. Great performance, but price. Able to run 4K 60 frames on a TV. Price premium of this model is too much in comparison to the other models. Okay, so there's somebody who gave it 4 stars, but wouldn't recommend it to a friend. Obviously, he didn't return it. So, but again, he's not looking at all the facts when he's making his opinion about the price. The price is actually fantastic for the performance when you compare it to the Titan V and the Titan XP. Anyway, I'll give him that. There's one negative there. Okay, I guess an actual don't buy. But not because of performance. Amazing card. I was skeptical at first because of the price, which most people are. The extra $40 without no RGB is really a blow. Overall, it works as expected, very fast, good frames. I play out on Gears of War 4 and always receive stable frames. If you're looking to buy this card, cool, very nice, and overclocks like a monster. If you prefer EVGA, it may be hard to buy this card, but if you're a fan of no RGB, then you'll love this card. I would recommend to a friend. Elegant and powerful. Honestly, it's a little plain and overpriced considering it has no special features. But it works great, and I can play Shadow of the Tomb Raider or Assassin's Creed Odyssey in 4K Ultra at 60 frames per second. It's not fancy, but it does the job. I would recommend. See? Subtle but powerful card. I like this card a lot. Visually, it's very subtle. No RGB, actually no lighting at all. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. The only weird part is the official specs. The base and the boost clock speeds. The card regularly without overclocking hits 1935. So I'm unsure what's going on here. With overclocking, it's stable at 21 plus. That's pretty good. I can't get my card to go to 2100. I just don't get the spec discrepancy when it's seemingly higher. Well, the boost, you can't go by the boost. The 1635 boost is just a guaranteed boost. So don't worry about the boost clock speed. The Nvidia will boost as far as it needs to go. You know, in other words, as far as it can go. So, you know, don't go by the boost clock. That really doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Alright, so let's go to Micro Center. Hi, Micro Center. Let me put this back on full screen. I love this LG thing. So let's increase this a little bit. 1, 2. Alright, so let's see. Do they have any bad reviews here? There's one there. So we'll look at that one. Let's look at the bad review first. Got moths on my screen. Oh, that's just a cooler. Never mind. Sorry. So Asus Strix. Here's that same Strix. This one looks like it might be without RGB. Whoa, what happened? Where did my internet go? Come back. There we go. Oh, that's okay. So this one's 1300. Where are the reviews? Oh, here we go. Read all 20 reviews. Sort by newest. Alright, Buttery Smooth Gaming. This guy's got a 9700K. Asus Strix motherboard. 32 gigs of RAM. It's very stable and solid build. I moved from a GTX 1070. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that card. I just wanted to be able to play current and future VR games that require an i7 with a powerful GPU. So far, the one thing I was concerned was the overheating. I shouldn't have been concerned at all. I use all Noctua fans, and the cooling solution on the 2080 Ti is outstanding. I have not seen temperatures go above 42 degrees Celsius, but I don't play the really heavy rendering games. I was a bit concerned about the faulty memory chip issue that people were reporting earlier in the year, later last year, but that seems to be fixed. Is it worth the money? That remains to be seen. It's a big hit to finances, but if I can get at least 5 years out of it, it will be worth it to me. Okay, so he's got like a neutral attitude towards it, but he didn't return it. Can't go wrong with Asus. Very happy with the performance and how far it overclocks. The fans have something to be desired when it comes to noise, but they keep the card 58 degrees Celsius and under full load. So I can't complain. Planning on picking up a second one in the future. Well, that just speaks for itself, doesn't it? Okay. Great card. I switched from a Zotac RTX 2080 Ti amped extreme core to this card as Zotac card had issues, blah blah blah. So far this card and previous were very on par in terms of performance and thermals. I have yet to apply any overclocks. It technically won't fit that case, but there's really cool workaround. Overall, I'm happy with my purchase despite the high premium for RTX cards. Yes, I would recommend it, so he's not returning his either. Powerful card with pleasing looks. This card performs exceptionally well handling any games on maxed out settings on an ultra wide resolution with ease, while also having, at least in my opinion, a really good look. Oh yes. Runs cooler with more frames than my 1080. This card out of the box is very impressive, but don't let that stop you putting up the power limits, increasing the clock and undervolting, and you can get 10 to 15% more frames while staying in the cool 70s. Yes, I recommend this product. It's a beast. Solid performance, excellent cooling. He is having a little problem fitting it, but that's not Nvidia's fault. Yes, I would recommend the product. Fantastic graphics card and has 2 HDMI connectors ports. The graphics card is amazing. I almost did an upgrade from my 1080 Ti because I didn't think that there would be that much difference. Let's see. He didn't think there was going to be much difference from 1080 Ti, but he was totally wrong. I game primarily on a 4K LG OLED TV, so 4K performance is very important. With this card, I can crank up all the graphics settings to their max and run a solid 60 frames at 4K in almost any game. I was also able to overclock this card a little bit, and it still runs cooler than my 1080 Ti did. The other thing that I love about this card is that it has 2 HDMI ports. This works great for me as I use a 40-inch Sony 4K HDR TV for my monitor and the 4K LG in front of the couch for gaming. Having 2 HDMI is great because finding a DisplayPort to HDMI adapter that supports 4K 60 frames HDR is not easy. No, it isn't. Having the extra HDMI also comes in handy if you have a VR headset. Yes, the price is crazy, but so is the performance. I'm very happy with this purchase. That's how you get what you pay for. The best gaming GPU currently available. Well, we do know that. I wanted to complain about how much Nvidia wants for this. Let me repeat that. Rwell74 says, I wanted to complain about how much Nvidia wants for this. Then I bought one and saw it in action. 3440 by 1440 ultra settings, 120 frames per second solid. This card laughs at everything I throw at it. If you can afford it, just buy it for the raw performance and power. DLSS is cool. RTX is cool. Ansel is so cool. Ansel is cool. But I don't care as much about those things. This card is a beast. I have it paired with the Alienware Ultra Wide, also from Micro Center. I'm so happy. Also slays on my 4K TV at 60 frame ultra. Huge difference from my GTX 1070. So, you know, there you go, man. That's just the Asus card. Remember, that's just the Asus card. Now here's the EVGA Black 2080 Ti. Any reviews? Let's see what they think about this. Is this like all mixed together or what? Let's see here. Kick butt graphics. Now this is only $1,069, so that's cheaper than the Titan XP by a long shot. This is a kick butt graphics card. I thought I had great cards in the past, but this thing is amazing. Good silicon, good warranties, good price. EVA gets good silicon. There's no exception. Great warranty for the card. Good performance, I guess he's saying, at stock clocks. Good price as well. He recommends. Beast of a video card. This is an upgrade for my 1070, and I will never go back. Runs GTA 5, Anthem, SOTTR, Division 2 at max settings, supports multiple monitors. This card's a beast. Con, generates a lot of heat. I mean a lot. Well, he needs to do his fan curve, I think. Best price on the market. I got this graphics cards from Micro Center a month ago, no problem. Super easy to install. Can run any game at a steady 120 frames per second on a 2K curved monitor. Super satisfied with this product and customer service from Micro Center. Recommend. RTX 2080 Ti. High-end performance, high-end price. Let me just preface this by saying I am coming from a Strix overclocked 1080 Ti. So this card isn't a monumental upgrade for me. I needed to replace my 1080 Ti because the fan controller stopped working. This wasn't much more expensive than a higher-end 2080 at the time, so I went with this rather than a regular 2080. This is a lower bind, so you don't expect amazing overclocking. Power limit is only maxed at 112, but my understanding of the 2080 Ti is that even with higher bin chips, overclocking is limited. Mine boosts up to 1850 and I can get it to run with 140 MHz offset. It does power throttle, so going much above that isn't practical. Performance is good as it should be for a card with this price tag. Synthetic benchmarks put it a decent amount faster than my 1080 Ti, but again, not earth-shattering. Now, again, this is an EVGA black. Okay, it's weaker than a Founders Edition. Anyway, let's read on. I would only recommend this card if you're coming from a lower-end card of previous generation or if you just want the best. But then you probably don't want the base model, which is what this is. I would suggest finding some other reviews out there for the 2080 Ti in general, because I find most of them to be similar and pretty much on spot on. Also, on a side note, this card is pretty power hungry, so make sure you have a quality power supply. Well, that's not really true. It has actually pretty low power limits for the kind of a card it is. But anyway, that's his opinion. He recommends it though. Value price GTX 2080 Ti. Bought two of these and SLI'd them without exception. Very nicely priced and great value. I also really like EVGA's warranty. Register your product and they extend it for 3 years. He would recommend the product. Expensive, but worth it. At approximately 1K, it is weirdly affordable if you have the means. I am enjoying the cleanest, highest frames per second ever. It's an experience turning things up on Ultra and still getting 120 to 270 frames per second. Easy to install. He recommends the product. Awesome. Sprang for the pricey upgrade to my gaming rig and have not regretted my decision. We'll leave it at that. Good card once you get over the price. So far I'm very happy. It runs over 1700 out of the box. I upgraded from a 1070. That is quite an upgrade. I mean, I went from a GTX 1080 Strix, you know, which is a pretty nice card. That thing ran pretty good. I was happy with it. Not sure what he's saying here.